Did you just stop it or what?
No, I started.
Oh, you just started it right now? You weren't recording none of that?
No.
You're a dick. Whack. What do I do? I'm scared. I'm panicking. I'm freaking out. I don't know what to say. I'm totally just gonna wing it. But what do I wing? What do I talk about? September 21st, 2021. I took off. I took off from a stop sign and went on a high-speed chase with the police on a stolen bike with drugs in my possession. I was on a run that had been 7 straight years after I started getting high again. I had a bad fucking day and I went back to jail. I got caught with the amount of drugs in my pocket that was considered trafficking. That right there alone led me to a possible sentence of a mandatory 18-year minimum sentence just for the drugs that I had in my pocket, not for the high-speed chase, the endangering the public, the battery on a peace officer, the stolen property, none of that shit. They, in one 5-minute decision, I signed on for possible 39 years of prison sentence again. And I believe that it saved my life. Straight up, again, saved my life. And put me in a position to go back into the jail and institution system again that I thought I would never do. But it also gave me the opportunity to realize a lot of things. That this thing that we call freedom is a farce. I've kind of known it my whole life. It's all controlled by the man. We're in a continued state of confusion, in a perpetual debt cycle where we're pretty much walking around asleep and don't even know what's going on. This illusion called freedom is not real. When my freedom was taken away from me, I was given the opportunity again to sit and contemplate and think about what's really important in society. Not only that, to think about my actions and the actions of my loved ones and the people that I care about and surrounded myself with for the last few years, and the things that led up to me going back to selling drugs and running on the underbelly of the law again. I chose this time to go and not let them fucking stab me with the needle, not do anything for them. I didn't want them to have anything. I wouldn't let them give me a TB test. It was during coronavirus. I would not let them fucking put a damn corona test in my mouth or in my nose. And for that, they kept me in seg for 100 fucking days until I agreed to do that shit. And it was not easily that I agreed to do that shit. My segregation time was definitely a whole group of stories that you cannot make up. But I'm not going to go into them right now. But during that time in segregation, I had personal enlightenment happen to me, a lot of emotional experiences, a lot of crazy experiences that helped me develop as a person and realize that what I'm here to do is this right here. What I'm here to do is try and help other people. What I'm here to do is try and help my loved ones escape this motherfucker, man, because I gave birth. I helped create 2 individuals that are going to help me with this. One of them is Chaos Incarnate, and y'all will get a hold of that whenever he's ready. I don't know, but that's going to happen to y'all. And the other one is helping me create this right now, and he's a very strong individual that I'm very proud of. Just made me a grandfather. Recently made my dad a great pa before he died. Thanks to him. But I sat in this segregation for 100 days and found out who I was. And in that time, I had some crazy experiences. I was under 23-hour-a-day lockdown. They would let me out for an hour a day to shower and fucking use the telephone or whatever and clean the fucking pod and my cell, maybe 2 hours sometimes, whatever. And so for the most part, I was in my room alone and I was fucking out there. I was lost. For the first couple weeks, I was a bawling mess. You know what I'm saying? I'd done it again, you know? And I immediately realized that it was the opportunity for me to really find what was important in my life. And if I was going to have to maybe grab a hold of a 30-year sentence because the system got me again, which there's no justice in the system. There's just us in the system. If you're in the system, I'm trying to turn this motherfucker from American injustice to justice in America. And the way we do it is by showing these people that keep us in this system. And it starts out in the micro society. I can give you really strong, and I will give you really strong examples of how the micro society is exactly what's happening to us all in public, just on a micro scale where you can actually pick those pieces apart and see what the fuck they're really doing. We're all being experimented on. Everybody in the United States is being experimented on all day long. We don't even have a fucking clue. I've seen it really strong and personal in the corrections industries and in the jails. We're goddamn lab rats. We sign up for it. We don't have a fucking choice. And so, sidetrack. After 100 days in SIG, I was let out. And I'm probably going to chop some of that out of there. And in about the middle of my segregation time, I started having some crazy spiritual, emotional experiences. Any book I could get my hands on, obviously, I'm taking it. That's all I got to do. I'm reading, I'm working out already. Within a couple of weeks, I started working out again because I knew what the fuck I'm in this cell by myself all day long. I got one thing I could do pull-ups on, do push-ups all day, do dips off the toilet, whatever. I could do my workouts, do my lunges and shit like that. And I could keep my mind right. I gotta find some material that will feed my brain and keep me positive and get me on this real shit that's out there that is important and that I stumbled upon during this time in jail. I got this book called Astral Travel and Astral Projection, Lucid Dreaming and Astral Travel and Astral Projection, something like that. And it was basically what the title implies. It was meditation to the point of out-of-body experience, pretty much. And so I started practicing this stuff. I'm in a fucking cell for 23 hours a day like a fucking yogi. You know what I'm saying? What am I going to do? I'm either going to be crying a ball of mess. I'm going to write some shit that I'm thinking about that I need to address, whether I'm in or out of prison. And I need to develop this shit and try this shit that I don't have time to out there when I have my freedom. You know what I'm saying? When you're out here in public, you have so much responsibility, so much obligation that you're so overwhelmed. You can't think about, should I learn how to meditate? Or like, what is this chakras thing? What is this kundalini? All this nonsense that people are talking about. You don't have any time to think about any of that shit. So in that situation, I learned in my last prison sentence that's what you get. You get whatever time you want to allot for, you can do that. And so I'm reading this astral projection book and I start having crazy out-of-body experiences. I start having crazy emotional experiences where I think somebody else is in my head. And it turns out that somebody else was in my head. When I was able to accept it, the spirit of somebody I love's mother came into my body, straight up. The weirdest experience, I can't explain it. I don't know. I was completely fucking sober. There was no way that it was the drugs or some shit. Maybe I had a psychotic episode, but I've experienced things in my 45 years through the use of sleep deprivation, the use of psychedelic substances to experience some things. I know there's more out there than what we can see. And I started experiencing these things while I was in prison because I got time to explore those type of things. And so I start getting this weird experience where I'm channeling these crazy thoughts of another person that are personal thoughts about somebody that I love, and I don't know what to do. I'm losing my motherfucking mind. Around the same time, I get a fucking radio, right? I get a radio, and for the first time in a couple of months, I have music in my head. And I'm not, all we have is some stupid ass Mexican channel, some bunch of bougie hip hop shit, and some classical music and jazz stations. And so there was classical music and jazz all day long. So I had that in my head, and that helped me to take my mind off of what was happening somewhat, like when it was not happening. And at the same time, there's something about classical music and instrumental music that makes you connect with your true essence, with the source, with magic, because it is magic. You know what I mean? There's something in music that is magical. And so I start being able to realize what's going on in me. And at the same time, the person that I'm channeling at one point taught themselves to write with both, or draw and write with both hands. And so I'm got this suggestion in my mind, learn how to fucking write with your left hand, right? So I learned how to write with my left hand. I start teaching myself how to write with my left hand. In the middle of this, in the middle of me learning how to write with my left hand, I start getting crazy flashes of my college classes from 15 years before. 15 years before, I would wake up and like see a page of economics, see a page of my business and marketing, see business plans that I had thought about before I had gotten out of prison, all kind of stuff. And I start writing that shit down. So me learning how to write with my left hand opened some shit up in my brain that brought my college classes back, and all kinds of other memories that I can't explain. All kinds of other shit just started coming to me. And I started, after I got out of SEG, I was exposed to a bunch of writings of the Theosophical Society and other ancient mystic texts and stuff like that. And I started realizing that what I was experiencing is something that's been happening throughout time. In the recent years, you're crazy if you start experiencing these things, but it's not the way it is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of prior civilizations or prior communities or ages of people have come to different levels of maturity in spirituality, in so many different ways. And right now we're basically asleep. We don't understand what we're doing, but we can awaken, and we can help each other, and we can in our own time become as like Christ as anybody else can. In December of 2021, after 100 days or so in SEG, I was let out of segregation, and I was able to start interacting with the community again. And the community being, at that time, a small ass group of 10 people in a room, you know? And from that point on, I was able to realize that I have influence and I have power and I have the abilities to render my environment what I want it to be, just by my energy, my intent, and my willingness to put in some work. You know what I'm saying? To speak what I feel is the truth as if it were the truth, because I know it is the truth. And the way that I interacted with those people let me know that it's important for us to do this great escape. There's so many people right now in our communities, you know them, I know them, we all love them, that are lost in a state of psychosis, usually because of self-induced drug addiction, you know, straight up. The first time I went 10 years without, 9.5 years without using meth. I got thrown in prison and I didn't want nothing to do with it. It took me away from my fucking little man for 5 fucking years, and I didn't want to fucking touch it no more. I felt like it took me away from my family when actually it wasn't nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? I got taken away for a bunch of reasons, and they were all good. You know what I'm saying? They were all good. They might not have felt good at the same time, but they were good. You know what I mean? And but anyway, one of the good things that come out of that first prison sentence was I didn't want to touch meth, and I didn't touch meth for 9 years, and I felt like I was so strong. Even when I got out the first time, I would fucking find a lot of drugs, man. I would find like an ounce here, a quarter ounce there, 10 grams here, all kinds, and I would just flush this shit because I was strong enough. I didn't need that shit. I knew that I had to go associate with bad people or people that could get me in trouble. And of course I was being watched by the man still, but I still kept it for 9 years where I didn't touch the shit until I found somebody I loved getting high, and I felt like I was strong enough to get high with them. You know what I'm saying? And I was. Getting high ain't the problem. The problem is when I start getting high, I fucking fall into my rebellious nature. And I say, fuck the man. You know what I'm saying? And I don't buy drugs, I sell drugs. You know what I'm saying? I just don't do anything. I don't let drugs control me. I control the drugs. You know what I'm saying? And that's very much frowned upon by the law. So I stayed away from it for 9 years the first time. I fell back into it immediately. The girl that I was with was hiding it from me because she knew that as soon as I started getting high, I wasn't going to be buying a fucking 20 or an 8-ball or some shit every once in a while. I was going to go to my boy, we're going to have a fucking stash, and everybody's going to come to us for dope now. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make all kind of money. Everybody's going to have cheaper dope, better dope. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time, right? Until the law comes and gets you and you go on a fucking high-speed chase and fucking try and fucking wrestle a cop and a bunch of other cops. It's not a good. So when I'm in this situation, again, I try and influence those around me in a positive way. I'm taken away from the cloud of addiction again, which comes from any type of substance that we allow to overtake our mental. You know, when it becomes something that's more important to us than the basic necessities of life, there's a problem. It can be chocolate, it could be porn, it could be fucking sex, it could be crack, it could be fentanyl, it could be fucking little boys, I guess. I don't fucking know, you know what I'm saying? Those people die really quickly. But anyway, let's stop it right there. Fuck.